Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors, your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. Glad you're here this morning. Appreciate you viewing the show. Got a great show lined up, but first, our weather, as always, brought to us by Haney Technical Center at the corner of Baldwin and Highway 77. High today, 87, and low 78. It's not going to get quite as hot. The big news, Jeff and I were just talking, we got a cold front coming in. We're going to talk about it later, or maybe a cool front. But anyway, it's a little front coming in, and we're all excited about it. It's going to have some ramifications on our outdoor activities. Water temperature stays at 86 degrees. It's still warm. Take a look at our river readings. The Apalachicola at Bluntstown, as we go into the first part of the week, the day's Tuesday morning, and we're looking at 3.7 and pretty steady right here. So it's not a lot of movement. And the Chattahoochee has finally settled down. It's reading a, let's see, we had a 2.9 right at 3 foot this morning, and it's going to go up maybe 3.5 foot by Wednesday, but not a lot of action on it. So the river's pretty steady for the mid part of the week. If you're retired and get to do some fishing in the middle of the week, you're going to be in good shape as far as the river. Our tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn Funeral Home and Cemetery. Of course, their motto is when carrying counts. And we're looking at September the 16th, and we're in some good tides this week. We have a high tide this morning at 3 a.m. and a low tide this afternoon at 2:41. They got a 1.6 foot range on that, and the rest of this week, remainder of this week, will be some really good tide movement. Okay, weather as far as the marine, as far as the wind and all blowing, it's going to be coming out of west about 5 to 10 this morning. So that takes care of our weather. Let's take our break, and we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Let's get started with some pictures. It has them all over the place, and we're going to start over in Destin. A great picture here off of kayak. What a beautiful bull mahi. This is John Jackson from over there, and you see how close to shore he is. Don't you know he had a ball bringing that fish in right there. All right. Okay, let's go from John into here locally. Sean Pittman, nice redfish there out of a kayak. These kayak guys are doing real well. All right, here's one of my students, this year's students. I was telling them about it, they sent me some pictures. I put them on the show, and boy, it didn't take long. This is Tia Rooney here, and she went fishing with her grandpa Sunday morning, and this is a huge. But look at that mess of fish they caught. Okay, good job, Tia. Granddad is Gary Walker. I know Gary, and I know they had a good time. We talk about it. I encourage them to go fishing when they spend some time with their grandparents and all. That's really good. Okay, now next, I'm just going to show you this picture. Had nothing to do with fishing, but had something to do with hunting. This is my Jeep. I just picked it up. I'm going to tell you about the Jeep. I'm in Valdosta, Georgia, right there. You see that sign behind me that says Bass Collision. That's Tony Bass in the middle, a Kenyan farmer. Tony is my fishing buddy, and I've been looking for a Jeep for a special CJ7 Jeep for some time, and Tony found me one up in Valdosta. Went up there over the weekend and got it and brought it back, and well, I'll admit it's a toy, and I'm just tickled with it. I'm going to talk more about it, my love affair with Jeeps. So we'll next picture here, of course, you recognize Mark and Michael Cowart. They got 5th place over the weekend in the Emerald Coast Redfish Tournament. Mark said they were like 17 ounces from first place. That's how close it gets in these tournaments. A great picture there, and a good job fishing that. A good job just getting placed up there. All right. Now this is Tammy Clark, Brad and Tammy Clark. Brad says she gets the Ugliest Fish Award. Tammy, Brad sent me this picture, so I had to put it on. So, all right, now the Gulf County Sheriff's Office is having their big tournament. It's this weekend, sort of sneaking up on us, and haven't heard a lot from over there, but we're going to go ahead and talk about it. The big thing about this, folks, is $10,000. It really, first place, the next, just right there and right inside, first place, $10,000. This weekend down at White City. I've done the weigh-in a lot, and it's going to be a big shindig here. Okay, last picture here. I've been telling you for a couple of weeks now, the fish are biting. And freshwater fish. It's Sharon and Tommy Oliver, and they've gone about every weekend and got this many. And I haven't shown it every weekend, but this is the mess they get. They're good fishermen fishing up there in Weewall, around that Chipotle Creek and all, and Tommy went in and took a picture of the clouds coming in on Saturday. That's a beautiful picture there too. So that's all the kind of things you can enjoy in the great outdoors by just getting out there and being there. They were fishing in the water, look up at the sky. It's all beautiful. So good job on that. Thanks for sharing all those pictures with us and all. Now, the Jeep, this is my third and probably my last Jeep. It's a CJ7. I'm sort of partial to those. They come up in the 1986 was last year they made them. And I tell my class a Jeep story. Like I said, I've had a couple. This is my third one. I've always loved them and all and used them. I wish I had a video when I first took a Jeep down to the woods when our deer hunting party, and we would go down there, and everybody had pickup trucks. I was at the dogs, and we'd be hunting up there in Robert Brent area, next to Gaston and Liberty County, big old area to dog hunt in. And this is back in the 70s, and I got a Jeep. I didn't have a truck. When I was living in Panama City, all my buddies and my brother and all his buddies all lived up here in Gaston County, and we'd met every Saturday morning and deer hunted during dog season. And we had a great time and great camaraderie, wonderful days. And I came driving up there one day in a Jeep and driving down the old gas line, and I wish I had a camera to show the faces of those old hardened hunters. Everybody had a dog box on the back of the pickup. When I got out of the Jeep, at first, and these are my buddies now, they didn't want to hurt my feelings, but they didn't spare any of their feelings either. They said, "What in the world are you driving? And the first thing they said, "Where are you going to put the dogs?" And I didn't have them deer dogs. We had plenty of deer dogs, all of them. I said, "Well," Wild Man asked me, I said, I'm just going to call you to come pick them up when I find them, because you're not going to be able to find them in some of that area because your trucks don't. So I got a reputation of going finding the dogs because my Jeep was going 4-wheel drive, and I'd get out in the boondocks and get up with the dogs and help lead them out and all. So I always loved the Jeep, and I got this one. It needs to, I'm looking forward to driving it. I'm going to use it for hunting and fishing and just enjoy it. It's one of my few toys I have, and it's going to be my Christmas and my birthdays and all rolled into one. So anyway, be aware of that. I'll be talking more about my Jeep, and if you want to ride around into something, we'll try to see if we can do that one day. Now, let's get back to fishing. Emerald Coast. How did Jeep get its name? This is a trivia question I do with my class. The word Jeep, it goes back to World War II, and the government put out a contract because we needed over in the European theater, we needed some 4-wheel drive. These trucks, we're getting off road, getting stuck. So got a contract with the Willis Jeep Company. Was the first one, Willys, the old Willis Jeep. And what they did, when they got over there and put them together, and the soldiers loved them, and the captains and all would get out there, and they didn't know what to call it. They called it a general purpose vehicle, and it sounded like a military. And you can imagine those soldiers in a hurry, and then all of a sudden they said, go over there and get the GP for general purpose. And of course the GP was shortened to Jeep, and that's where the word Jeep comes from. I elaborate on the story a lot and tell that to my students. They get a kick out of it. Now they know where the word Jeep came from, as a general purpose vehicle for the military. All right. Okay, I got a redfish coming up, redfish tournament. Several of them coming up in October. They won for Emerald Coast. They won the Mark and Michael fish in it. Their next tournament will be October the 4th here in Panama City, and that's going to wrap up the schedule with the exception of the championship on November the 7th. They've done the first Saturday of each month way back since March, and be 9 tournaments they've had. So they've had a good time in all. Also, we've got some other tournaments coming up on October 4th. To be a redfish tournament, and Jeff Bodoff will be having his. He's coming on later in the week or next week on that tournament they're having there. So we've got a couple of redfish tournaments coming on. And don't forget that big bass tournament coming up this weekend at White City. It's not too late to get in. Go ahead and call Gulf County. We didn't get a lot of information. I wish I could have told you earlier about it, but I just found out about it. I'll tell you how I found out about it. A friend of mine was coming down here to go fishing and couldn't get in a hotel room to go to Mexico Beach or St. Joe. And what it was, all these bass fishermen were coming in. And he said, what kind of tournament are you having down there? I said, I bet that's that Gulf County Bass Tournament. I started looking around, and sure is. So that's this weekend, all right? Be in White City. All right, let's take our break, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Earlier during the weather, I mentioned this little cool snap coming up, and it's always exciting about these cool fronts or cold fronts when they come in the fall. That's really what the fall fishing, why it's so great, because these fronts come through. And what we need to realize is when a front comes through, you have what it is, of course, is a drop in the barometric pressure. Well, when you have that, basically what's going on is that a lot of times little bubbles are released from the surface down underneath and all, and go to the surface. These little bubbles, and a lot of times scientists, I've read about this and talked to people about it, and experience we have ourselves. Right as the front's coming in, you can usually do real well compared to just a normal day. And it's because of those bubbles being released, and a lot of times they bring up organisms at the top of the water, and if they get the fish and all just get excited, like in a little feeding. I wouldn't call it a frenzy, but they get a lot more. They're a lot more apt to be feeding at that point in time. And also, what's going on? Their senses, and animal senses are so far advanced than ours. I mean, look at an eyesight of a deer, or how they can smell you and all. And fish are the same way. They can sense these things. They can sense this pressure changing, and they know that they're going to start moving around and feeding. They don't know how. A lot of times they might be anticipating rough weather ahead of time, and a lot of stuff going on in the water. So in addition to that, they can. After now, also it's proven that after the front comes through and everything settles down, the fish become lethargic again, and they sort of just sit around. And one thing, they've eaten, they've gorged themselves out for a couple of hours or even a day or two while the front's coming through. And then after the front comes through and you got the bluebird sky and everything settled down, they're not biting as good. So just make it a point this fall that you really try to fish these fronts as they're coming through, providing the weather's good, and right before the front, a day or so before, whatever, they can sense these things, so be aware of that. All right, now, just mentioned recently, we lost Captain Don Morrell, and I mentioned it on the show, but I looked last night, I knew I had a little tape. I had interviewed him not too long ago. Actually, I looked back, and when I found it last night, it was about 2012. I really thought a lot of Captain Morrell. He was a captain for like 68 years. I mean, it's incredibly how long he had and was a still working captain. It was just incredible. He just, don't see Iron Men like this anymore. And he was, I ran across him a year or two ago on the dock. I just happened to have my camera with him. He was standing out there in front of his boat. I just stopped what I was doing, went over there and just talked to him. It's not a long interview, but I just have so much respect for him because, he started fishing when it was $3 a head to get on his boat. He ran Captain Anderson's boat. One of his favorite boats was his Judy Bass. He ran it for some time. You have a picture of it here. He'd get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and get home at 7 o'clock at night, and he watched the actual. They went from. He saw the evolution from hand lines to bamboo poles to fiberglass rods, and he witnessed all that. And what a great change! And I just have a deep appreciation of our heritage and our history when it comes to the waterfront and the things these men did. And I appreciate all the hard work and also. And also, one of his favorite deckhands, I remember he told me, was Bill Shields, and a lot of you folks out there know Bill Shields from Superior Dry Cleaning. Bill's an excellent fisherman. He and Bill Allen fish a lot together. And I always tell him Bill's the best fisherman of the bunch. When I fish with him, I have a good time with those guys. But he said Bill Shields was an excellent deckhand. I remember him talking about that. So this is an interview about 2 years ago, I think. I ran across him out there right in front of his boat, the Mary M. So, Jeff, let's go and run this little interview with Captain Don Morrell. Folks, I'm on a dock. I just ran I ran into a captain. He was in my book years ago, and he is still fishing. It's Captain Don Morrell on the Mary M. Don, how long you been fishing?
66 years.
66?
Had a license 66 years.
Had a license 66 years?
I'm the oldest captain on the coast, still working with a license.
Are you serious? Well, how old are you now?
60. I'm 86.
86 years old and still fishing. That's wonderful.
I like the fishing. If they let me catch some. You can't catch enough no more.
It's hard. Is it harder to catch them now or easier?
No, they're out there. You can hear about walk around on the snappers, but they're not going to let us catch them. I don't know why. The more you catch, the less they want you to catch.
Well, you've been fishing for 66 years.
Had a license 66 years.
What were the best years, you think, looking over those 66 years?
If they could let us catch fish right now, it would be some of the best fishing we ever had.
Well, that's a great point.
Snappers are bigger. There's not as many black groupers as there used to be, but there's still some red groupers out there.
Yeah. What about this Mary M? Where'd you get the name Mary M?
My wife named Mary.
Yeah. You still live in the same house over there?
Still there. I've been there About 68 years.
I got to know Don when I was doing the book and all. Got to visit with him several times and all.
Got it smoked up last December, and we had to stay in a motel for a month. And this lady come to look at the policy of Allstate. We'd had it about 55 years.
Yeah.
She said deluxe and throwed it down on the kitchen table. I said, other words, this ain't worth a damn. She said, right the opposite. This gonna cost my company about $80,000. Everything comes out of this house, cabinets, stove, refrigerator. Didn't have no fire, just smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah, even the television, the ceiling, the duct work, insulation. They just gutted that house. Howard Pitts and his brother and his son worked a month on that house. It's just brand new inside.
Oh, that's great. That's
a lot better than it ever was.
Well, good luck today. Where do you go?
Okay, Bob. How's that?
Good to talk to you.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that. That was really nice to do. I'm glad we have it as part of our heritage. We have a sort of vault now of old kind of interviews and all that with some of the old timers. Hopefully our new museum will have a section of that museum dedicated to the heritage of fishing and boat building. And I haven't been down there yet. I know they're working on it as time goes on. They're already started working. Let's take a look at our fishing game forecast brought to us by Mark Coward of Edgewater Beach Realty. And our times today, 6:54 to 8:54, and tonight from 7:19 to 9:19. Okay. Now let's go into notice from FWC. Advanced bow hunting field day offered on September 27th. That'll be this coming. Let's see, that'll be coming up next week. Okay, September 27th. And basically, what it is Fish and Wildlife Commission is putting it on. It's going to be out here at the Panama City office. The course does not count as a hunter safety class now, but it's going to be going over the fundamentals of bow hunting safety, the hunting techniques, stalking and trailing. It sounds to me like it's going to be an excellent class. It's going to go from 8 o'clock till noon, and it's going to be an excellent class, especially for folks who have not had a lot of experience in the outdoors. This is like a cram class in college or something. You just get it all in from, like I say, 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock. You bring your own equipment, but if you don't have your own equipment, they will supply you with equipment. And remember, in a situation like that, you never bring, of course y'all know that, you don't bring broadheads. You always bring field points on that. So it looks like a good situation there. Call the FWC office and talk to the Will Burnett out there at the FWC office, the regional office in Panama City. Sounds like a good situation there. Okay. Also, got an email from one of the viewers sent it to me. Said, "Hey, this is Chad Taylor. I have a question for Stan Kirkland." And the question was, are they going to stock the Sandhill ponds like the Porter, the Hammock, the Hamlin, and the Wages pond, since they have all filled up? And by the way, that's been one of the joys of the summer, seeing all these ponds filling back up in the sand hills. They've gotten so dry and all. Well, Stan forwarded this email. I sent it to Stan. Stan sent it to Chris Paxton, local biologist with FWC. And Jeff's been on the show before. He does a really good job. In fact, I need to get him come back on pretty soon. But the answer, and here's the answer from Chris. He said the answer is yes. We're going to put crappie in it, bluegill, and largemouth bass. And he's getting together with the hatcheries, and they have a formula they figure up, for how many acres a pond is, just how many fish you put in. So I'll get Chris to come on within the next week or two, and maybe we can talk about that and talk about that formula and the joy of actually stocking these ponds and all. That's got to be a lot of fun doing it. And I've been with them when they've stocked the Deer Point Lake with grass-eating carp. In fact, I saw the video last night. It was 2008 they did that. And of course, they've all those grass-eating carp will die out now. Okay, all right, that takes care of that. I was going over the gun season. We talked about it, but one of the things I didn't get to finish this yesterday was all the things you do in the pre-fall, getting ready for fall. Because last thing you want to do when fall gets here and the weather gets here, like is ready to go for the weekend. We don't want to have to start worrying about getting things ready on Friday night to go on Saturday morning. So I always try to do like a pre-spring list and a pre-fall list, and I mentioned some things the other day, but one thing, this is just for boats, this happens a lot. Check your boat. We're at the end of the summer now, getting ready to do some fall fishing in there. It's a great time during this transition period to just stop and look at your boat. You just don't know if you got any dings in the fiberglass or something happened to it. And by the way, fiberglass repair is easy work. If you've never done it, you might want to practice a little bit, but it's not hard to do. Now, it's not, you're not in a boat show. It doesn't have to be beautiful. You just want to patch that hole and sand it out, and you put some paint on it. I love working with fiberglass. I don't do as much as I used to. In fact, when I was in my 20s, I actually built a fiberglass canoe, and it was really it wasn't beautiful, but to me it was beautiful. I mean, I used it quite a bit of time, but and then we built a canoe also in our outdoor ed class. So fiberglass is not hard, especially have little kits and all. So check your boat, because you don't want to have it all dinged up and a little crack in or something. If it's a major structural effect, you want to get a professional look at it. But something just dinged up and all, just go ahead and fix that now, and don't wait till October 4th on Saturday, first Saturday of October. Another thing I mentioned here, your truck toolbox. If your toolbox, your truck toolbox, I know they're not real popular now, but us old timers still enjoy them. Go through that toolbox, make sure you have everything. If you have a dead battery, make sure you have your battery cleaner in there and an extra set of cables. I wrote down some things. Make sure you have in the toolbox tools, your jumper cables, a machete. You always got to have a machete. I don't know how often you use it, but I always have a machete in mind. Ropes, tow ropes or a chain or something. If you get stuck, somebody can pull you out. Towels. And you always want to have a can. I wrote down, I always want to have a can of Viennas in that toolbox. Jeff, that sound good? Because someday you may lose your lunch one day. But those the battery stuff, the battery connections and all, the extra set of that's really good. I've had to use mine before when you're way back in the woods and all. Also check your tree stand. We're going to talk a lot more about tree stand safety, of course, but check it out. Make sure everything's set on it. Floundering light. I've mentioned this quite a bit throughout the course of the year, but this is when we're getting ready to do some serious floundering now. The moon's been just right. Some folks went this past weekend. I don't think they did all that well, but I know some parties went out this past weekend. Also, this is the time of year I also like to look out for firewood and all. If I go out in the woods, I see a tree that's knocked down on my property, some limbs broke off, I just make a mental note that when it cools down, I'm going to come out of that spot and cut down that old tree that's falling down for my firewood. So all those little things, sort of jot them down and get them in the back of your mind so you get ready. This is all pre-fall checklist, so you get ready for your fall outdoor fishing and hunting, okay? About to run out of time. I appreciate y'all watching the show, all the things you do, all the emails I'll send. And always I ask you to do something really good for your fellow man. You have a great day, and God bless.
Thanks for joining us for Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors features hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.